Welcome back. So, Streets of Rage 2. What is there to be said about this game that I didn't say about the original Streets of Rage? Well, quite a lot as that happens, but first I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about sequels and my personal stance on them. Sequels have a very difficult job to do. The audience have a ton of expectations, a certain sense of familiarity is expected, and something new must be done to make the game stand out from its predecessor without sullying the good formula of the original. A good example of a sequel would be Sonic 2. They added a Spin Dash, Super Sonic, and Tails, as well as making the game far longer than the original, whilst maintaining the same principles and atmosphere of the first game, but we'll dig deeper into that in my upcoming Sonic special. A bad example of a sequel would be Sparkster on the Mega Drive, the sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures. Rocket Knight Adventures was an absolute joy to play, but Sparkster was, in my opinion, a complete and utter mess. The Super Nintendo Sparkster was a far better representation of the Rocket Knight formula, again a subject we can delve deeper into another time. Now, what does Streets of Rage 2 do to ensure it's a worthwhile sequel to a well-received game? First of all, there are two new characters, Max and Skate, though sadly Adam is gone. The graphics have been given a major upgrade, there's much more eye candy, and enemies now have health bars, which were only given to bosses previously. There have also been some changes to the fighting mechanics themselves. We'll start with the graphics as it's the first change most people notice. The sprites are a lot more detailed, the animations seem to have more frames, and the actual characters themselves take up more screen space. This extends to the HUD, which now displays a health bar over the scene, whereas in the first game it was contained in a large black box, obscuring a large area of the screen. The extra detail also helps to identify enemy movements, and allows you to effectively counteract them. The larger size of the sprites does mean there's a little less room to maneuver, but this is countered by the extra screen space given by the change in HUD. The fighting mechanics have been altered. Each character now has a unique move, usually activated by double tapping forward and pressing B, my favourite being Axel's Grand Upper. The basic combos have also changed slightly, and each character feels a little more unique, and you can really tell that, for example, Max is far slower but far stronger than, say, Blaze, whereas before, I would have happily used the same tactics with any character, and Adam and Axel felt a little interchangeable. The special moves have also been completely revamped. Now instead of a cop car appearing and toasting every enemy on screen, your character will perform a special move. The cop car used to have a limited amount of uses, but here, the trade-off is that each time you use your special move, it costs a little bit of your health, meaning that if you're in a tight spot, you better be damn sure your attack is going to connect before using it. In this respect, you're now forced to actually fight the bosses. In the original, it was all too easy to just save up the usage of the car and use it to instantly knock half the boss's health away. The changes in fighting style and balance are made even more apparent by the game's new roster. Adam, from the first game, has been kidnapped as part of the plot, so straight off the bat, he's not playable. Replacing him are Max, a wrestler, and Skate, Adam's younger brother. I can take or leave Max. He's a decent powerhouse, and while he's not to my taste, the series could use a Zangief, and my co-op buddy Craig seems to like him. Skate, we agree, is awful. I think part of the marketing strategy was to put a kid in the mix to, well, appeal to kids. What bugs me is that you have a game where ex-cops are taking on a major criminal organization, brawling with thugs brandishing knives, lead pipes, and even swords, and someone invited a damn kid to the party. Granted, Skate is Adam's younger brother, so he's supposedly relevant to the plot, but if I were Adam, I would be livid if I were rescued by my battle-scarred friends and found out I'd let my little kid brother tag along. You just don't expose a kid to that kind of danger. I said it before about the roasted turkey and trash cans for the first game, I'll say it again here about Skate. Only in a 90s video game. The levels become more varied more quickly this time around, but a lot of the levels feel like you're revisiting levels from the first game. You'll be on the street, on a bridge, or even on a boat thinking, this seems familiar. Don't get me wrong, there's a healthy selection of new areas. You fight on a pirate ship and in a foggy cave, for example, but there is a difference between tipping your hat to your roots and outright copying them. In the first game, I mentioned that the elevator section was fantastic and a great way to build up to the final level. It seems I wasn't the only one who thought that, as this game seems to love elevator sections. The first two are a decent stretch apart from one another. but towards the end of the game, you'll start to hope you don't see another one. On the topic of retreading old ground, do you recognise this boss? Okay, how about this one? And even the final boss? Yeah, they probably ring a bell because they were in the first game. The graphics have been completely revamped for the sequel, so it's not even as though they were just recycling the sprites. They actually put effort into duplicating old bosses. Now, there was an issue in the first game that you would fight each boss multiple times, and this is true here as well. You will get sick of the sight of Jet and Zamza. They even start appearing together. To think you're then fighting bosses you already defeated multiple times in the first game, it's a little disheartening. I don't take issue with the new bosses. They're balanced and enjoyable to fight, and the penultimate battle with Shiva is always a blast. Some are susceptible to an exploit where if you hit them and wait just a moment, you can hit them again with the first punch of any character's combo while they're stun-locked by the damage. And of course you can keep this up until they're dead. I would say the developers were unaware of this, but then there are bosses with attacks specifically designed to counter this, which just seems strange to me. Co-op returns, and there's really nothing to say about it that wasn't said before. You still have to be careful not to smack each other around while you're taking on goons, and you'll still have moments where you're arguing over who really needs that health pickup, immediately followed by a moment where you double team a group of enemies and high-five each other. You no longer have the option to fight each other at the end of the game. Instead, there's a duel mode on the main menu which allows you to jump straight into some one-on-one. This move makes perfect sense when you consider me and my friends used to rush through the original game just to get to that one fight where we got to dust off against each other. But it just doesn't have the same weight to it here. There is absolutely no build-up to it. You've not just spent an entire game getting punched by them, having your awesome combo ruined by them, or having your items picked up by a teammate who doesn't even need it. There's almost no reason to be fighting one another. When you take away the road leading up to that fight with each other, all you're left with is a moderate fighting game. And if I really wanted to do that back in the day, hell, we had Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Something I completely forgot to talk about in the last review, and something I can't believe I haven't had stick for not mentioning, is the music. Streets of Rage 1 and 2 both have fantastic soundtracks. They sound like dance tunes and fit the action perfectly. You could see yourself in most of the game's locales battling to that kind of music. It helps you feel like an absolute badass, and the credit music, Clean Again, is up there with my all-time favourite pieces of game music, alongside classics like the Ice Cap Zone and many others. In summary, Streets of Rage 2 is a damn good sequel, and in my opinion, the best game of the series. It very nearly loses that honour by not having Adam as a playable character, my comments on the duel mode, and possibly retreading a little too much old ground, but everything it does better than the original. Most of the changes, especially changing the special from the cop car into a physical attack, help to improve the gameplay. It tinkers with the formula, and that's always dangerous, but everything that's been changed has been done to improve functionality, add that little bit more depth, and generally create a better experience for the player. If you are looking to pick this up, naturally there's always eBay for the original, but it's also featured on a number of anthologies, including Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection for the Xbox 360 and PS3, known as Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection in the US, and you can also get it as a download on the Xbox Live Marketplace. As always, this has been Afr0Blu3, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.